Shalom, 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 Yasha Allah. This is your boy, Brother Shamu Allah, back at you with another quick edifying video. Today's lesson is going to be called Sweet for Bitter. All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Halal, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, Qadash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahawah, and His only begotten Son's name, who you ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahawashi. All right, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rawchaa Qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days and has pushed this gospel and this truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom. Another mighty shalom to all you Akim out there laboring on the highways and on the hedges and on the unicorn, which is this internet, pushing this 100% doctrine, this 100% truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom to you all as well. All right. Was just watching the elder Apostle Tahar, his video, and, I saw this video, that Brother Hassad had did a while. I was like, I ain't gonna do nothing about it. I'm not gonna do a lesson on it, and I remember just the brother, we was talking about it, during Passover, but matter of fact, let me just play this real quick, Salakia. But this is, like I said, this lesson is called Sweet for Bitter. Okay, so let me play this real quick.
So we're going to use lettuce. We're going to use romaine lettuce. Some people use...
Salaki, let me...
But again, what bitter herbs are you eating? So we're going to use lettuce. We're going to use romaine lettuce. Some people use horseradish, which is permissible, but it's disgusting. So I'm not going to be eating that.
So he basically is saying that because horseradish root is disgusting, he's not going to eat it, right? And he's going to eat romaine lettuce. And I remember watching the video when this came out, and I was thinking, like, man, I just had romaine lettuce the other day. And I don't remember anything bitter about it. You know what I mean? But let's play it again real quick, Salakia.
Somebody said kids' Bibles. What bitter herbs are you eating? So we're going to use lettuce. We're going to use romaine lettuce. Some people use horseradish, which is permissible, but it's disgusting. So I'm not going to be eating that.
So your whole premise for not eating is because it's disgusting, right? When the purpose of the bitter herbs is to show the affliction. It's not to be comfortable about what you're eating, right? We're here in captivity, right? We're literally here in captivity. Let's get a couple of scriptures real quick. I'm not gonna make this one too long, right? But one of the precepts, I was watching the live because Hassan was in the live of what the elder Apostle Tahar, his video. He was in there. He was like, well, what's wrong with this lettuce? Lettuce is supposed to be in there, right? And I remember talking to my Akim, where we were doing the Pasak, and we had the horseradish, and we all grabbed extra, right? Because we knew, hey, last year was bitter for all of us, right? And we should be afflicting ourselves. And we grabbed handfuls of that thing and was chomping that stuff down, right? Because we understood the bitterness that comes with this stuff, But you have people who are trying to soften it out, right? Because they're comfortable here in their state, right? It's not so bitter, right? It's literally not so bitter with them, all right? This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 5, verse 20. It says, woe to them that call evil good and good evil, right? That put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter, all right? And literally, he's going to replace the lettuce sweet, right? He's replacing that, for, the bitter, he's replacing it with a sweet lettuce, right? That's what he's doing, right? Instead of having that affliction because you don't like it, you know what I mean? Because you don't like it, right? But that's not, when you read in the book, matter of fact, let's get it. Read in the book of Exodus, right? It's not, hey, what do you want to eat? What do you need to do? No, it doesn't ask you all that, right? Let's see if I can get near the point here. Let's see. Here we go. I'll just get to the point. This is Exodus chapter 12 and verse 8. It says, and they shall eat the flesh in the night, right? Roast with fire. What is that talking about? A lamb, right? It's not telling you, to, season it, marinate it overnight and, get that, right? It says they shall eat the flesh in the night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, right? With bitter herbs, they shall eat it. All right. You're supposed to be eating it with bitter herbs. All right. But because you don't like it, you think it's icky, right? But that's, and the cold part about it is you got people who they law this, law that, right? But then when it comes to it, they're not following it, right? To the best of your ability at the end of the day. All right. And obviously, like I said, it must not be bitter to you. All right. You got your super chats, you got your, PayPals, you got your, merchandise that you're selling this, selling that. So, it's not that bitter for you, but those who are really getting afflicted, hey, it's bitter. All right. We go to Exodus 1, right? Exodus 1 and let's see. Start at verse 11. It says, therefore, matter of fact, let's see. Let's start at verse 7, right? Exodus chapter 1, verse 7. It says, and the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them, right? Remember, the children of Israel like the sand of the sea, all right? And here we are in modern day Egypt, right? This is modern day, spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as it is called, all right? And it says, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph, right? And he said unto the people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come and let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. It says, therefore, they did set them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. It says, but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. It says, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor, all right, and bitterness, all right. And even to this day, right, we're here in modern Egypt, right, and guess what? It's bitter here, man. It's bitter here, right? And like I said, brothers, we was just, reminiscing about, the previous year and, the hardships and the things that brothers went through, how bitter this place is. All right. And hey, we grabbed extra horseradish and was tossing them down. You know what I'm saying? Because we understood the affliction and the bitterness of this place. All right. And to replace it with some lettuce, with some romaine lettuce at that, come on, man. But that kind of just shows you through the spirit that you're not really being afflicted here, right? You're not really catching that bitterness and that hell that you should be catching. Okay. Because it tells you, in the book of Salakia, in the book of Sirach, right? Chapter 2 and verse 1, right? It says, my son, if thou come to serve Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, prepare thy soul for temptation, right? And these are the things that we have to constantly read and refresh ourselves going through these bitter times in this place, all right? To remember these bitter times, and Lord's will, this is the last Passover, all right? And this, we want to remember it accordingly, how bitter it was, all right? And it's just like when you sit there and you want to eat romaine lettuce and you want to swap it out because you think it's nasty. Well, hell, this whole captivity is nasty, But you have a lot of people who are comfortable in here. Why? Because they're getting the bag, they're getting the social status. They're getting they're getting the praises. They're getting all that stuff on this side, so they don't want it to end. Right? And it just shows you, the mentality and the state that people are in. All right. And you see when you're like that, then guess what? You don't want this to end because it's really not that bad, right? You eat lettuce. When you're eating romaine lettuce, guess what? It's like you're really saying, hey, it's not that bad. I can deal with that, But if I got to eat horseradish, nah, it's icky. I don't like that. Well, that's what this captivity is, man. This captivity is full of bitterness, right, and abominations, right, and those who are really they want to get the hell up out of here, man. They don't want to stay in this thing, man. So it just shows the mindset, of folks, and that why it makes perfect sense why their former leader was like, well, we could be here from now to 1,000 years, right? Hey, romaine lettuce, hey, we're good, right? We'll put the sweet for bitter, right? That's that whole mentality, all right? They're not really, afflicting themselves, right? Or they must not have been getting afflicted throughout the year, all right? Because, brothers who's catching hell, hey, we was just sitting there like, hey, yeah, as we talking, we talking about the trials and tribulations, of going on. Hey, let me eat another one of these bitter herbs, right? To remind myself, that's the mentality, you thinking about the chastening of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. I mean, if you're not catching hell and going through it, what did the book of Hebrews, right, 12, verse number 6, it says, for whom Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth, right? It says, if ye endure chastening, the Most High dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, wherefore all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons, right? So if you're not catching hell, you're not going through this, it's not bitter for you, and you might want to reevaluate yourself, right? Because the Lord might not be dealing with you, but when you catching hell, day after day, week after week, and you understand, and when you come into this time and you see what, the Heavenly Father did by sending his son down here for us, man, right? And the bitterness that he had to endure, all right? And what more should we be? He set that example for us, He told, what was that? The brothers, I think he called them Zebedee, right? He said, ye shall surely drink of the cup that I shall drink. All right. And the Lord drank there was a bitter cup, right? But here you're trying to downplay it by eating romaine lettuce, and and the brothers had brought out on the live, they were saying like, when romaine lettuce is freshly picked, it's sweet, right? But when it sits around a while, right, that's when it becomes bitter, right? Or you eat that end part of it, But But what are we really doing, man? Like, are you really afflicting yourself? Are you really reflecting on the bitterness that you have? Are you really comfortable? You know, and that's what a lot of people are. They're not understanding. All right. What is that? Ezekiel 2, and I brought this out, I believe, the other day. All right. Ezekiel chapter 2 and verse number 9. It says, "And when I looked, behold, a hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein." Right? Talking about the scriptures, right? This wisdom, knowledge, and understanding says, "And he spread it before me as it was written, within and without, and there was writing therein, lamentations, mourning, and woe." Right? What is that? That's bitterness, man. Right? Afflictions, troubles, right? In this book, right? That is written within and without, right? Talking about the scriptures, the Bible, right? You got writing on the outside and the inside throughout it. And throughout it is what? It's affliction, it's captivity, right? Punishment, judgments, right? It's a lot of bitterness in this thing that you have to eat. And you have to swallow the whole thing. You have to eat the whole roll. All right. And then what is that? John? Oh, no, it's like not John. Revelation. Revelation 10 and verse number 8. It says, "And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again and said, Go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel," right? This is John the Revelator, right? And he said, "I went unto the angel and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up." Right? So intake this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Right? These scriptures, these words, it's 100% true. You got to eat the whole. Remember, Yahawashi said, "I come in the volume of the book." You have to eat the whole book. All right? It says, "And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter." It says, "But it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey." All right. It says, "And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter." All right. And if you're not in that state of your belly being bitter, for this word, for this gospel, and understanding the trials and tribulations, I look at the video that Elder Apostle Gabar was doing, talking about the misanthrope, being a misanthrope, man, because it's to a point where you just don't even like being around general public people, man, right? Because you see the nastiness and the wickedness of them. You see it's just everything this whole place is bitter, man, right? This whole place is bitter. Me and my Akim, we were just talking about it. The only time that really is some sweet is when usually we're together, right? We're going over lessons, we're doing different stuff. But besides that, this whole captivity is bitter, man. Right? We lost our identity, right? We're here in a strange land, right? Being oppressed daily, right? Having to get up and go, right, to Esau's nasty plantation every day, right? And you think romaine lettuce is acceptable, right? For the bitterness and stuff that we are facing here, right? Where our people are bugged out, lost their mind, right? Come on, man. Right? But you don't want to do it because you don't like the taste of it. That's cool. And the Elder Apostle Tahar was saying that, you don't like the taste of it, like the he was saying, I believe it was either, I think he said Ezekiel or John, whichever one. He was like, yeah, he didn't ask how, what does this roll taste like? He didn't ask him that. He just ate it up, and it became bitter in his mouth, right? And bitter in his belly. Salakia, So understand, man. Like, and that's the thing. When you read in Exodus, it doesn't say, you shall eat this, but if you don't like it, because you don't like the taste of it, then, why don't you eat something sweet instead? No, right? You're supposed to eat it to remember the bitterness of this place, man. To remember the bitterness that Yahawashi went through. All right? To remember the bitterness that you're going through in your captivity. Jake get very complacent and then wants to prolong things, right? And that's what you got these folks doing. They want to prolong this captivity. It's not that bad to them, right? Man, listen, you guys are sending in your super chats and your this, that, and the other. You got my views up to 2,000 views, and I got the YouTube paying me and this, that, and the other, and it's not that bad for you, right? You're having parties at the Passover, doing rap videos and stuff, right? Because it's not bitter to you. It's not a solemn assembly, right? And understanding, the seriousness, right? You literally had a blood moon on the Passover, right? Representing destruction and death, but yet it's still not that bitter for you, right? Well, soon enough, it's going to be very bitter, all right? The scriptures talk about it, Daniel 12 is going to be like a time of no other that's never been seen since there was a nation. All right. Jacob's trouble, right? Jeremiah 30:7. All right. So, but like I said, let's go back to that. We'll close it out on that. Isaiah, right? That's really the mindset, Isaiah 5 and verse number 20, right? Woe to them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter, right? So you want to replace the bitter with the sweet, right? That's what you want to do, right? You want to do the opposite. They tell you don't cover your head. You want to wear a hat while prophesying, right? You get into this debate spirit, and what do you want to do? You want to declassify or say that Paul's letters and stuff are not authoritative. That's because and that's the thing. You're not eating that whole roll. You're not eating that whole, because now you're taking pieces out. Well, I don't like that. Literally that's what you're doing. Well, the Paul's letters are not authoritative, so I'm not going to eat that too much. Hebrews, we don't know who that, so I'm going to sit that to the side. Now you're picking out what you want to eat instead of eating it all. Eating it all, right? You want to pick out and eat the sweet parts, right? When you have to eat the whole thing to understand, right? But I'm going to leave it at that, right? So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash, peace and blessings to the elect of the 12 tribes scattered abroad, and mighty shalom to the 144,000 men, and to the rest of the elect. Stay diligent, stay focused, keep praying for one another, man, and keep understanding the bitterness of this place, man, right? Understand the bitterness and the affliction, right? And continue to pray to get up out of this place, man, at the end of the day. All right? And with that, I'll say shalom.